Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host Asif Durrani, and I have come back with the Ambassador's Lounge. And today we have slightly changed the format. Earlier we were five batchmate ambassadors. We were conducting our program among ourselves. But today we have our mentor. He is the mentor of all of us. But I have had the privilege to serve under him in New Delhi. And he's a mentor to all of the Foreign Service. He's a legend and he's frank. We have learned from him. We are still learning from him. He is none else but Ambassador Riaz Hussain Khokhar, who has been our Foreign Secretary, who has been Ambassador to New Delhi, earlier High Commissioner to Dhaka. He was High Commissioner to New Delhi. He was Ambassador to United States, to China. He is an institution, and all of the Foreign Service officers, whether serving or retired, they owe him. Thank you, sir. You are most welcome. Welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge, and you are the first one. We are beginning with our host ambassadors, our senior colleagues. We are inviting them. But before I come, let me introduce, ladies and gentlemen, our team is Ambassador Tariq Zamir. He has been earlier here, and we all team up. And then we have Ambassador Imran Yawar. Sir, these are our today's this episode's. They are the participants, and they'll be bothering you with their questions. You are most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank you for the invitation. And secondly, I'd like to congratulate all of you for having started this program. And you've got the name for it, Ambassador's Lounge. So I'm very happy to be here. I also want to say that we all have had the privilege of serving this great country, and serving the country itself is a privilege, but representing the country is an even greater privilege. So as far as I'm concerned, I have served for over 4 decades with the government and in the foreign ministry, and I loved every minute of it. No regrets. It's been a wonderful experience, and we owe everything to this country, and we owe everything to this institution that I'm talking about.
Sir, if given the choice, will you opt for service again?
Absolutely, 100%. Let me tell you, first of all, it was a very strange thing when I joined the service. I didn't get into the Foreign Service. I'm from Punjab, domiciled, so Saeed Mehdi was right above me, and he didn't want to join the Foreign Service. So since I was right behind him, we approached the Establishment Division, and in those days there was a very outstanding Establishment Secretary, Agha Hamid, and I think it took them less than 24 hours to take the decision. He says, there's nobody in between, it's perfectly normal, and he wants to join the Foreign Service, and Saeed Mehdi wanted to join the police, but of course he later on joined the DMG. So this is how it started.
Okay.
But I was thrilled, and I was very happy to join the Foreign Service, and honestly, I say this with my hand on my heart, that I enjoyed every minute of it. No regrets whatsoever. And if I have, of course, there's no question of my rejoining the Foreign Service. But if I were to advise young people, and that if they are looking for a career in the government, serve the country, nothing like the Foreign Service.
Great. Tariq?
Thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you. Sir, again, going back to your 40 odd years experience in Foreign Service, when you joined, I think it was 1966 probably. And then how did you see foreign service, from 1966 until the, say, 2005 when you left? Did you see any, how do you see the difference in the service in terms of foreign service and also the officers and then the foreign office as an institution?
Well, when I joined Foreign Service, I joined Foreign Service with great enthusiasm, and I had absolutely no difficulty in serving anywhere. That was my attitude. And when the director, I think Mr. Islam, he called me and he said, "Do you want to go to Moscow?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're the only person who's come and said yes to Moscow in a split second." So I was very happy to go to Moscow. And I can tell you that every posting that I've had, whether it was Moscow, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, together, and then subsequently Delhi, twice of course. Then I was also Portugal, United States, China, High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Every posting I have enjoyed. Enjoyed not only professionally, but even otherwise. You've got to have an open mind, never have preconceived ideas of a country, and the important thing that as I see it, is always that you have to establish to your host country that you are sincere and that you want to contribute to a better relationship. I think this is the key to the whole thing. And once they get that message, believe me, it's fantastic. That was my first posting was Bangladesh, and I really got along famously. Service-wise, obviously things change, circumstances change. There has been some decline, but not too much. I think this is being. Then, of course, the work for the ministry has enormously increased. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is always under huge pressure. But I think I have great faith, and what I've seen of the young officers, I think I have great hope and faith in their ability and their capacity to deal with major issues. But they need a lot of encouragement all the time, not only from the government, but also in terms of a certain level of appreciation from the people and from the media.
Sir, if I may just add to what Tariq has said. We have heard, now we are retired, so we heard that there used to be a mentor-protege relationship in the Foreign Service. How do you see the scene now? Or say when you were the Foreign Secretary or when you were, dealing with these affairs. So there seems to be some kind of opportunistic attitude where one can observe, and even complaints received from our officers, young officers. There's no kind of guidance to them that how to proceed.
Yeah, maybe this is where I think there has been a change. I can assure you that whatever capacity, even when I was a third secretary, I would encourage my staff to put in their best, to be nice to them, to seek them, and to help them where you could. Also, I think as we go up the ladder, anybody who has worked with me, I was always very friendly, always very helpful, always guided, always appreciated, and I think this is really a great incentive. And I can tell you, Mr. Agha Shahi was our Foreign Secretary, and there were occasions where we were working really directly with him, because we found that he was encouraging, he was trying to get the best out of us. And I think this is the approach that should be taken. As Foreign Secretary, it's the responsibility of the head of the office to take care of all his officers, all his staff, and stand up for them. I mean, that is the important thing. And if that is the feeling that young people get, that if I get into trouble or if there's something happens, the foreign secretary will take responsibility. And I give you one specific example. We were in Jeddah and one of the prime ministers wanted to sack the chief of protocol, and I said to him, you can't do that. And you cannot do that in a foreign country. And he has done whatever wrong that he may have committed, it is my responsibility. So if you take that attitude, you inspire people. The main thing is to inspire people to put in their best. I mean, everybody has limitations, but what the boss, whoever is the boss at that time, has to inspire people to put in their best, the perfect material that they can do. So I think that has to be appreciated.
Imran,
Thank you very much, Asif.
I'm sure you must be bubbling with so many questions.
Well, we're having Mr. Khokhar here. He is known for his smart views and sharp answers. So, of course, we need to get clarification on a number of things. Sir, you are once again most welcome to this Ambassador's Lounge. We are very happy and honored to have you with us. You talked about the Foreign Service. Yes, it's for us also, it's been a great privilege to serve in the Foreign Service of Pakistan. So what I would like to ask you is that forget about the past, even in the present future, our foreign policy has failed to maintain a smart balance in our approach toward different countries. Look at India. It has relationships with Israel, with Saudi Arabia, with Iran, with everyone, and no one says anything. What's wrong with us, sir? Why can't we maintain some sort of a semblance of balance in our foreign policy?
You know, let me be very frank. Policies are not made by Foreign Office. What we do is we study problems, and you've all been part of it, right from section officer to foreign secretary. You study a problem and you develop options, and you place those options before your leaders, whether it's a political leader or it's a military leader. You can question and you can make contribution as long as the decision has not been taken. But once the decision is taken, then your only job is to implement it, even if you don't like it. Now, look at let's say the last 30 years. I think there has been a great deterioration in the quality of leadership in the country. That's one of the main problems. And I think you can't hold foreign ministry responsible for not having good relations with Saudi Arabia or good relations with country X or Y or Z. It's a policy that is to be, we only implement a policy. And when whatever tools we have, we maximize those tools. Then you have limited resources. You cannot match the resources that India has. You know, I'm on record as having said this, in fact, even in a cipher telegram. I said, as ambassador of Pakistan to the US, my salary in emoluments, etc., is $5,500. And you know what the next sentence was? That this is the salary of a night soil carrier in Washington. I don't know if any people of you have dealt with administration, but I'm on record. It's not a question of money, but you have to, it's foreign policy, marketing foreign policy is not an easy thing. There are impediments that you face because, first of all, your adversary that you're talking about, India, they have huge resources, a big country. You look at the map of South Asia, all you see is India, and then you see these 5, 6, 7 countries around it. Their economic prowess is growing. It's a big country, and realpolitik. Please don't forget that. Every country has its own interests. It's not a love affair. It's downright critical interests. That's what matters. And it happens that we are facing difficulties here and there. But I think if we were to have the right kind of leadership, right kind of guidance, there's no reason why we should not be able to implement that policy and make the difference.
Sir, if I may interject, when you say right kind of policies, now we have a perennial adversary, which is India. Then we have always a full of tension relationship with Afghanistan. So we have a kind of a two-front situation, if not exactly two-front, at least 1.5 front situation. And then Iran is erratic. And China is the only miracle which we have at the moment. And when you look at it, so in geographically, so we are almost surrounded by these problems, huge, humongous problems. And what do you think? What is the solution? Whatever government you have, whether it's civilian or it is military, these problems are very much there. And you think the solutions are in our hand, or it is also our neighbor's fault?
Pakistan has always faced an existentialist threat from India. This is, at least I believe, maybe a lot of people may not share my view, a very serious threat right from the word go, from the day we were born. For instance, I don't like the word partition. You know why I don't like it? Because, we gained independence from British India. Partition is a word, it's a euphemism that the Indians use for what they call the dissection of Bharat Mata. So that is why I think we should avoid using the word partition. दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि we've always had this problem with India. Afghanistan was manageable, but maybe on both sides, whatever misunderstandings, of course they question the legitimacy of the Durand line. But we've never really had a war with Afghanistan. We had some issues with them in 1962. I think it was an incident in the or 61, I think.
Our embassy was attacked.
Yes. Attacked. Anyway, but Afghanistan and Pakistan have never gone to war.
No.
And when we had wars with India, Afghanistan maintained, neutrality. In fact, they even assured us that we know you are occupied and we will not do anything on the Western Front. So that from that point of view. Of course, there are certain developments that took place, the jihad and I believe that we certainly helped them. We also helped, we received a huge number of refugees. They are still here. A lot of them are still here. But I think the main thing is to treat your neighbor with respect. I think that's the first thing. Give them the feeling that you are as independent, as sovereign as you are, and that you would like to deal with them in that. We should not be interfering. We should not be messing around in their internal matters. Whatever it is. I believe Afghanistan is a very complicated issue. It's not something that any outsider can resolve. In the ultimate analysis, Afghanistan will be resolved by themselves, and they should do it by them. And the main thing is that the ethnic mosaic in Afghanistan has cracked. And that mosaic, its cementing is absolutely necessary for its own future. Correct. Even today, there is this north-south divide. The larger community, the Pakhtuns, and then of course the Northern Alliance and all that. And this is going to magnify. I'm not sure that Afghanistan is going to settle down in the near future, despite all these talks and despite all that. So that's one thing. Secondly, India, it's not that we haven't tried. We made mistakes, they have made mistakes, but Asif, my experience, 10 years experience of India is they will not settle with you on the Kashmir issue, dispute. They have made up their mind. They have a national consensus on this issue. no compromise with Pakistan, no give in on Kashmir. And now more so because in the past, whatever governments, maybe all our wars were during the Congress time, 48, 65, Rana of Kutch, 65, 71, they were all during Congress. So I essentially, my attitude, at least my understanding is, they're all the same. It's a question of only minor difference in style and form and substance. But essentially, that's the common consensus in India. No concession to Pakistan, no give in on Kashmir, and now, of course, now the attitude is ignore Pakistan, they don't matter for us. That's the attitude at the moment. So therefore, it's actually become much more difficult to find a modus vivendi with India. That's actually the real problem, as I see it.
So
I might be wrong.
Just to continue on this thing, sir, we go on television and we find these analysts coming and saying Pakistan's foreign policy has lagged, things like this. Do you find any deficiencies, inadequacies? What could we have done? They say that, well, Foreign Office should have known that this thing is going to happen, this abrogation of the status of Jammu and Kashmir. Could we have done something different in retrospect now?
You know, I look at it this way. Believe me, it's lack of understanding, lack of education, and lack of understanding of the problems between India and Pakistan. I always recommend to people that if you want to understand the real problem between India and Pakistan, just read the efforts that India and Pakistan made from 1947 to 1957. I think absolutely brilliant presentations about the Kashmir dispute. बहुत से लोगों को कश्मीर के डिस्प्यूट के बारे में ज़्यादा पता नहीं है. I think, believe me, and incidentally these records are now published. They're available in the form of bound books in the ministry. I think Jalil and Ambassador Masood Khan, they put it together. It's amazing. What is Kashmir dispute? It's not only about the right of self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. That's a right given to them by the United Nations. Secondly, it is a territorial dispute. A lot of people say, oh, it's a human rights issue. And it is a territorial dispute. You know, once an Indian Foreign Secretary said to me, you are interested in the Kashmiris? Okay, we'll drive them across the LOC. You can have them. But we'll keep
The land.
The territory.
So, you know, I think there is a lot of, it's difficult. Now, of course, it is a very important human rights issue as well. But why did this dispute arise? It arose because India did not honor the Act, Independence Act, under which India and Pakistan became two independent countries.
You are right, sir. Reason being that what Modi has done now, and with this domicile issue, they want to change the demography. And what is the reason behind that? To keep the territory.
Of course.
Otherwise, why would they, do that?
And let me. I might. I hope it doesn't happen. But a time will come that they will actually drive people. If those Kashmiris who do not reconcile with what he's done, he will drive them across the LOC, and he may even drive a lot of Indian Muslims, because that is his attitude.
Yeah.
You have to see you have to understand the man. His mindset is fixed. It's criminal. It's vicious. It's racist. It's supremacist. So, and of course the Hindutva, whatever philosophy that it is basically making India a Hindu. But this is the real India. Believe me, this is the real India.
Correct.
When I arrived in India, honestly, I was the first High Commissioner of Pakistan who was post-partition. I have no baggage. I was born in 42, but I do have some images of my visit to Delhi as a little kid with my father. It was in the railways. But this is what is the real India. You scratch an Indian, no matter how secular, how cosmopolitan, how sort of international the person is, you will find that strain in him. ये कम से कम मेरा experience, and Asif will tell you, I spent 10 years in India, right up to the level of councillor and minister. It was a wonderful experience, a lot of friends, all sorts of things. And then, of course, as High Commissioner, it wasn't an easy task, but I enjoyed it. But what I'm saying is that they are clear about their policy. Asif, this is important.
Correct.
We are not clear about it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I have had the honor of working with you as Director India 2003 to 2006, and those are very formative years. The olive branch by Mr. Vajpayee, and then the relationship becoming very warm. Those were the days when even India today said that you are a hawk on, vis-a-vis India. We thought you were very pragmatic, and your approach was very sort of, nationalistic and how it should be. Would you like to say something about that, sir?
Well, I'm not a great admirer of Natwar Singh, but he was once asked a question similar, whether he's a hawk. And he gave a very good answer, which I think was interesting, and actually is what I would like also to use. There is no such thing as a hawk and dove. It's not a bird sanctuary. Foreign Ministry is not a bird sanctuary. This is what he said, I think. And look, we as individuals don't make policy. A policy is made, and no High Commissioner, no ambassador can invent his own policy. But the style can vary. The substance cannot. Style, form can vary. I had an excellent time in India, but I also, and I don't have to say this myself because I'm not trying to, plead my case, but all I did was to defend the country's interest. I was there at a very difficult time, as you know.
We had very difficult situation, eyeball to eyeball.
Yeah, eyeball to eyeball in a lot of situations, and I think what riled them most was my comment that I came back from New York and I landed. The press attaché told me there was somebody from India abroad who's the editor who wants to do an interview with you, and the election had taken place in Kashmir. So he insisted. I actually refused. Then he just turned up at my house, at the Pakistan house. So I had to receive him. So the first question he asked me is, "So what do you think about the election in Kashmir?" So my answer was, elections in India are well regarded, free and fair, and so on and so forth. In India, every election has been rigged in the past, is being rigged now, and will be rigged in the future. And I have been vindicated by a book which has just come out, or came out 2 years ago, by Dulat Singh, who was head of RAW.
Yes.
He has confirmed that every election in India, in Kashmir, was rigged. So that's what turned me into. Although actually, there was when I made the statement, everybody thought I'll be declared persona non grata. In fact, the Lok Sabha issued a resolution, passed a resolution unanimously, and sponsored by Vajpayee, and it was also unanimously passed by the Rajya Sabha, but they couldn't declare me persona non grata.
Sir, just a supplementary question to this. The statement that came out, the joint statement between India and Pakistan, that came out at the occasion of SAARC summit in Islamabad, 6 January 2004. The Foreign Office was not happy with it, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And can you kindly share some insights as to how that statement, because the draft that was sent by you was different, and the statement that was issued later on came as a surprise?
No, the draft was not initially sent by I was not in the loop. I received a call on the third afternoon third afternoon at about 3 o'clock from Hamid Javed was the chief of staff to the president. He said, I'm sending you something on a fax. Please have a look at it. But don't make, meaning Angrezi theek hai, that kind of rubbish. So anyway, I said, yes, please send it. Then when I looked at it, my eyes popped out and I called all my colleagues, Salman, I think was additional secretary at that time, Jalil Jilani, and we all sat together and I said, how can we accept this? So we changed it completely because it was totally one-sided. Why? Two things. One, President Musharraf was accepting total responsibility for export of terrorism to Indian-held Kashmir. And secondly, there was no, shall we say, mutuality. When we say that we will not allow our territory to be used for this purpose, India also had to have that kind of a thing. So we were trying to inject a balance. Now what happened is, I rang him up and I said to you, I'm sending you this back as Foreign Secretary. Whatever draft it was. Fax kiya. Next day, 10 o'clock was a meeting between President Musharraf and Vajpayee. It was a, one of those omnibus meetings between delegations. Nothing much happened. So it was a short meeting. And as Vajpayee Sahib was got up to leave, so Brijesh Mishra, who was then the National Security Advisor, the President Musharraf tried to introduce me to him, the Foreign Secretary. तो उन्होंने कहा जी हम इनको बड़ी अच्छी तरह जानते हैं. And then he said कि ये जो कागज़ आपने हमें भेजा है, this draft, we know that this is his and it's not acceptable. That's how it happened. So I couldn't possibly come to terms with it that I should not be doing what I should be doing as Foreign Secretary, as a responsibility to advise the President that this is not acceptable.
Imran, tell me, what do you have in your mind? You feel restless.
Yeah, no, I'm not restless, but see, having Mr. Khokhar with us, of course, there's so many things and we have shortage of time. Sir, when I was Ambassador of Pakistan to Ethiopia and Permanent Representative to the African Union, in one of my visits to Pakistan, I asked the then Foreign Secretary. In fact, I presented some proposals to the then Foreign Secretary.
It was certainly not me.
No, it was not me. And I said, these are the proposals for improving our relationships with Ethiopia. And he said, look here, our plates are full. We have issues with this country. We are dealing with these issues on day-to-day basis. Sir, our foreign policy has criminally neglected Africa. We had these so-called Africa policy, Look Africa policy. They were all mere words. Now again there is some similar thing. We have never gone in depth with Africa. I don't remember the last time when the Pakistan Foreign Secretary ever visited any African country, black African, sub-Saharan African country. Similarly, I think the last president to visit Africa was I forgot the name even. It's such a rare occasion. So, why have we neglected the African continent? It's 52 countries. They're very important. When it's the question of voting, securing their votes on Security Council reforms, we sent a medium ranking officer to attend the African Union Summit. We are criminally neglecting it, and there's so much potential in Africa.
I think maybe I'm the only foreign secretary who at that time, in those days, had visited Addis Ababa. I went to attend, not of course the meet, but to lobby at the OAU meeting there. I think there are 2 or 3 very valid reasons. It's not that we have by design neglected Africa. I think it's the limitation of resources. How many embassies do we have?
13, 12, 13.
Maybe 12, 13 now, but I'm talking of the 50s and 60s and the 70s. Or even during my time, there were not very many embassies. There were maybe less than 5 or 6, 6 or 7 of them. So I think that's one aspect. But I do feel that this government is beginning to make amends. I think there's more focus on Africa in the context of trade, and but there are no other deep-seated considerations for not having good relations with Africa. Then, of course, we don't have any problems with them. And you are very right that they matter a lot in terms of their vote strength. And all major countries are now, actually Africa is the darling of competition now.
Exactly.
Between the United States and China. And I think even Russia is making some efforts. So they are clearly a continent with a great future, and I certainly hope that this government will refocus. Now, when it comes to, look at Africa, we developed an East Asia policy.
Yes, sir.
It's not that the Foreign Office doesn't do much. It's the line ministries that let you down. I'm being very frank.
Correct.
And it's not that I'm saying this on television. I have said it in cabinet meetings. Because, I was always very blunt with my remarks. I would say, no, this ministry hasn't delivered, that ministry hasn't delivered. So we have actually developed this thing, and I must say, I must give credit to my good friend and colleague, Salman Bashir. He developed this idea. And every time I went to Southeast Asia, I was embarrassed. I took 2 prime ministers to Southeast Asia, and we made all kinds of commitments, providing assistance and loans and so on and so forth, never followed it up. I don't know what level we are at the moment in regard to relationship with the ASEAN, but these are critical countries, and we could have benefited a lot by developing relations, by developing contact. Bilaterally, we may have better relations, but what I'm saying is that I think we missed opportunities. So I think that's a case of missed opportunity, and so is ASEAN.
You are absolutely right. I think we cannot just surmise on this one episode. And there are many other burning issues which we'll have to take up in our next episode, ladies and gentlemen. I think whatever you have heard during these 35-36 minutes can give you an idea that how this Foreign Service and its people who are working day and night, they are working hard. But at the same time, there are certain limitations we have to grapple with. So we'll continue with this discussion to our next episode. Till then, please keep on subscribing our channel. It's a channel which believes in imparting real-time and actual analysis which Pakistan's foreign policy has to grapple. Thank you for watching.